Good morning. I don't know why people are taking such a long time to join. What did you have at 9 o'clock? What did you have at 9 o'clock today? You had another class or technical
No
training?
class.
We didn't have a class.
You didn't have anything. Okay. So why people are taking so long? It's almost 2 minutes after 10 also. Still, anyway, I think I should start anyway. I start taking the screenshot at the beginning as soon as I log in within the first 2 minutes. Uh, let's continue from where we had stopped in the last class. We discussed about the various line codes, their waveform representation of the unipolar format, polar format and bipolar format. And in all the cases, we studied return to zero and non-return to zero. So for each of the cases, unipolar, polar and bipolar, we studied RZ and NRZ. And finally, as the seventh one, we studied Manchester encoding. And we said that is the best technique. We defined the equations for all of these. And later on, we discussed some important properties that should be had by line codes, or every line code should satisfy some important properties like low transmission bandwidth, high power efficiency, better error detection and correction capabilities, favorable power spectral density, or the power spectral density of the line code should match that of the channel. That's what I was showing you how it should work. It should match the frequency response of the channel. Adequate timing information should be there in the line code to help the receiver to synchronize itself to the transmitter. For clock recovery, we say. Transparency should be there in what we transmit, in the sense it should receive whatever we transmit. There should be ruggedness. That means the waveform should be immune to channel noise and disturbance and other things. Let's say interference and so on. Then the other important point is the DC component in the waveform should be almost zero. If it is zero, it is very good. The DC component should be removed in the waveform. So these are the important properties that should be had by line codes. Please understand, line codes are the technique to define digital data. So any data in the form of binary numbers are represented using line codes, and such line codes should have all these important properties if we should make them useful in our day-to-day life. So we are using these line codes in our day-to-day life for digital transmission constantly. And to make them much better and very useful, we have to practice implementing all these properties in the line codes which we are going to consider. So now let's move on to how to find the power spectral density of line codes. So what are the ways in which we can define the power spectral density of line codes? Okay, so there are different signaling formats or line codes which we have shown. 7 different types we have considered. So how can I approximate them? I can approximate the implementation of these line codes as what? Different implementations of a discrete amplitude modulated pulse train, or I can say they are implemented similar to that of a PAM. Here it could be PAM, amplitude modulated pulse train, or some generally it can be pulse duration modulation, or the best way is pulse position modulation. We studied all these three types of pulse modulation signals. So we can model all these line codes. We see all the line codes have rectangular pulses. Yes or no? All the line codes are made up of rectangular pulses. We have to use these rectangular pulses and model them something similar to a pulse modulation technique. So let's consider how we do it. Mathematically, if you understand the procedure from the beginning for one, it would be easy to do it for the rest. So please follow carefully. First of all, we are going to talk about a stochastic process. Remember, a stochastic process is used to analyze random variables and random processes. So whenever I need to do analysis of random signals and random processes, we follow the method, the method or approach to analyze such things is known as a stochastic approach, where we will be running many trials of a given experiment. Anything that is random, how are we going to analyze mathematically? We'll run many trials of an experiment, say tossing a coin. Whether it will have heads or tails, we'll never know. Say that's how we define probability. We conduct the experiment 1,000 times, and I say out of 1,000 times, 500 times it would return heads, 500 times it would return tails, means then it is a fair coin, and we say the probability of heads is 0.5 is equal to probability of tails. But if it is manipulated coin, that probability of getting heads might have been changed. So all this is possible when we run the experiment many times. So stochastic approach to mathematical analysis of random variables and random processes is very useful whenever we are doing signal processing and communication. In communication, please remember the actual information bearing signal is also random in nature, and the noise affecting that signal is also random in nature. Since both actual signal as well as the noise affecting it, everything is random in nature, our stochastic approaches, which will help in analyzing random processes and variables mathematically, are very useful here. Okay. So in this stochastic approach, the line code can be viewed as a random process x of t. And how do we define this x of t? Please understand this. X of t is defined as the summation minus infinity to plus infinity ak into v of t minus kt. AK here represents the amplitude of the kth bit. So AK represents the amplitude of the kth bit, and V of t is the symbol for a given pulse shape. Here we are considering V of t as a rectangular shape. So V of t can be defined as rect. It's a rect function. You see, it's a rectangular shape which exists in the time period capital T. Okay, how do I define this? So amplitude of this V of t is 1. So V of t value is 1 rect t by t. Since we said all line codes involve the use of rectangular pulses, I'm going to define the actual pulse as V of t, which is a rectangular function. And depending on which type of line code is needed, say I needed a line code like this. We needed something like this. What does this mean? This means I have shifted rectangular pulses of fixed duration. So if this is say V of t, this will be V of t minus 2 or t minus 2 tb after twice the bit duration. This is V of t minus 3 tb. So I'm just having shifted rectangular pulses in a line code. This is how we have a line code generally. I haven't shown negative amplitudes, but it could be easily representing both positive and negative. Okay. So if I consider V of t as a simple positive rectangular pulse, I can just represent the line code as shifted versions of this rectangular pulse added together. See here, something like this. So this is one rectangular pulse represent. The next rectangular pulse I have here, say this is V of t minus tb. Another rectangular pulse I have here, V of t minus 3tb. And what should I do to get the line code? To get this final line code, which is something like this. So this is the line code which we have. So what should I do? I should add this with this with this. Add the shifted versions of the rectangular pulses. That's what we are doing here. Summation k is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity. V of t minus kt, where t represents the duration of one symbol. Usually we call that duration of one symbol as tb. We can also call it as capital T. Okay, please understand this carefully. So here, just give me a minute. Okay, so in this stochastic approach, we are considering a line code to be composed of summation of shifted rectangular pulses. If I consider one rectangular pulse as V of t and the time period of that rectangular pulse as capital T, then the shifted rectangular pulses here could be written as V minus t, V t minus t, t minus 3t, so on. Instead of tb, I'm considering t. So if I add V of t to V t minus t plus V t minus 3t, so on. It's just a summation. So V t minus kt. That's how I can represent, where k ranges from minus infinity to plus infinity. And if I don't want just a positive rectangular pulse, if you want both positive and negative amplitudes in the rectangular pulse, then I should scale it by an amplitude factor which is given by AK. So in my line code, if I have both positive and negative rectangular pulses, I take this simple rectangular pulse with amplitude 1, which is V of t, and I'll scale it by the factor AK. So I hope it is clear how to write the mathematical representation of a line code. So the mathematical representation of a line code can be easily written as using a summation of scaled and time shifted rectangular pulses. So that's how I can define this equation. This equation represents time shifted rectangular pulses scaled to a particular amplitude AK. So AK represents the amplitude of that rectangular pulse for the kth bit. So first bit if k is 1, the first bit, if k is 2, second bit, so on. So for the kth bit, what should be the amplitude of the rectangular pulse? That is AK. Hope you understood this equation. Very, very important equation. Call it equation 1. Okay. Now, it's not only required for us to represent this in the time domain. We need what is the Fourier transform of this rectangular pulse. Do you remember? Does anybody remember what is the Fourier transform of a rectangular pulse? We have done last time in PCS. Whenever you have a rectangular pulse in time domain in this form, its Fourier transform is defined as a sinc function. Please remember this. We know that, you can just make a note, we know that V of t and V of f are Fourier transform pairs, and If here, if V of t is rect of t by t, it is 1 into rect of t by t, then V of f would be t sinc ft. So please remember, this is how a sinc function looks like. V of f represents the Fourier transform of V of t. So this is Fourier transform of the rectangular pulse V of t, and the rectangular pulse is defined like this: rect t by t. Its Fourier transform V of f is as shown, and it is a sinc function. So please remember this. So what are the two important things that you should remember to start off with? First thing, we are dealing with random signals and random processes. So we'll be using stochastic approach to processing, writing mathematical equations. And if I consider the line code as a random process x of t, how can I represent this random process? It can be represented as a summation of time shifted rectangular pulses, which are shifted by what? Multiples of the value k. K is an integer between minus infinity to plus infinity. So the rectangular pulse gets time shifted by an integer multiple of the time period t, and it will also get scaled by an amplitude ak. So if ak is the amplitude of the kth bit, ak plus 1 will be the amplitude of the k plus 1th bit, ak plus n for the k plus nth bit, so on. And if you have a rectangular function in time domain, in the frequency domain, it would be represented by a sinc function. Okay. Okay. And other than that, we should also recall from the analysis of random processes the relationship between autocorrelation function of a given signal x of t and its power spectral density. Do you remember what do you mean by power spectral density? Can somebody tell me the definition of power spectral density? Anybody? Shrishail? Shrishail, can you tell me? If you don't talk, I'll not know whether you're there in the class or no. At least tell me where you know or don't know. It's okay if you don't know. But please answer when I call your name. Are you there, Shrishail? Harsha?
Ma'am,
Can you define what is power spectral density? Okay, it's okay, but at least I want you to speak. Can somebody else define? Naga Shreyas?
Ma'am, it's a plot of frequency versus power, ma'am.
It's a plot of power versus frequency. You're right, Vishwanath. So whenever you plot power versus frequency, however it's going to look, that is called the power spectral density curve. So a power spectral density curve is a plot of the power in a given signal or process versus frequency. So at every instant of frequency, you will find the power. So for each value of frequency, if you find the power and join all those dots, you're going to get the power spectral density curve. Okay. So please remember that. And what do you mean by autocorrelation function? ACR. What is the meaning of an autocorrelation function? It gives you the relationship between what? a given signal and its
Time shifted version.
Time
time
delayed
shifted version. Exactly. So it will give you the relationship between a given signal and its time shifted versions. That is known as an ACR. And we know that this ACR and PSD are related to one another as Fourier transform pairs. You remember we had done this in the chapter for noise. When we considered noise, we tried to find the ACR of white noise and its power spectral density, filtered white noise and all that, low pass filtered white noise, all that we did. So just recall the same thing. Please remember, if I call Rxx of tau as the ACR autocorrelation function of x of t, then the power spectral density, I can call it as Sxx of omega or Sxx of f, anything I can use. If I use omega, I will have the equation like this. So this represents the power spectral density. Please note down, this represents the autocorrelation function for the given random process x of t. So the random process x of t has autocorrelation function Rxx of tau. Its power spectral density is Sxx of omega. So I'm trying to find the Fourier transform. So power spectral density is in the frequency domain. Please remember, this is in the frequency domain, and autocorrelation function is always defined in the time domain. Hence, this power spectral density is nothing but the Fourier transform of the autocorrelation function. How do I find the Fourier transform? Integral minus infinity to plus infinity, the given ACR function into e to the power of minus j omega tau d tau or minus j omega t dt, anything you say. If you don't want to write omega, you can write it as e to the power of minus j2 pi ft dt. Whenever you find the Fourier transform Rxx of t integral minus infinity to plus infinity Rxx of t e to the power of minus j2 pi ft dt, then on the left hand side I could write this as Sxx of f or Sx of f, anything you want you name. So your left hand side is the function of frequency. Omega here is 2 pi f. Please remember. Because if I consider omega, then if I find the inverse Fourier transform, so this is the Fourier transform equation. We call this as the analysis function. This is the synthesis function, the reverse, inverse Fourier transform. I want the signal in the time domain, which would represent the autocorrelation function or the ACR. That you will get by finding inverse Fourier transform of the power spectral density. So the PSD is Sxx of omega. How do I find the inverse Fourier transform? Integrate between minus infinity to plus infinity e power j omega tau d omega. Or this will be Sxx of f into e to the power of j2 pi ft df, integral from minus infinity to plus infinity. So if I directly write it in terms of f, I need not do 1 by 2 pi here. When I write it in terms of the angular frequency omega, whenever I find IFT, I have to include 1 by 2 pi factor here. Is this clear? So please remember the relationship between the autocorrelation function and the PSD function. The ACR autocorrelation and PSD are Fourier transform pairs. If you remember that, it is more than sufficient. So here this we define as Rxx of tau. This we'll define as Xxx of omega or Sxx of f. That's another thing. Now we'll move on to find the power spectral density of the difference line codes. One more thing which you have to remember when we try to find the power spectral density of different line codes is we can have two ways. You can either go for a deterministic approach or a stochastic or random approach. This is stochastic. This is a random approach. What do you mean by deterministic approach to find the PSD? Here, the binary bit pattern is predefined. So please remember, when we go for a deterministic approach to find the PSD, I have a predefined binary bit pattern, and for that pattern only I'm going to find the power spectral density. But if I go for a stochastic approach, the input binary pattern is random. The input binary data pattern is random. So please remember these two approaches to find the PSD of line codes, and normally we are going to follow this stochastic approach. Stochastic approach means the input binary pattern would be random and it is not predefined. Is that clear? So with all these basic equations, what are the three basic equations? First one is how to represent the random process, how to represent a line code as a random process, which is given by this equation 1. And next, equation 2, I can say, is the what? Frequency domain representation of the rectangular function. The Fourier transform of the rectangular function is a sinc function as shown. And the third very important relation is the autocorrelation function Rxx of tau and the power spectral density function Sxx of omega are Fourier transform pairs. So you know how to determine one if the other is given. If the autocorrelation function is given, you can find its PSD by finding the Fourier transform. If the power spectral density is given, you should find the inverse Fourier transform to get the autocorrelation function. Okay, ACR is in time domain, power spectral density is in frequency domain. Now, we can have a deterministic and stochastic approach. We'll be normally following stochastic approach here. Whenever we will be trying to find the power spectral density of the various line codes. Let us proceed with the analysis. As we proceed with the analysis, remember, we are trying to model the actual mechanism which is responsible for generation of the binary sequence. So you have a binary sequence, okay? So what is the mechanism which is responsible for generation of binary sequence? We'll call that binary sequence to be represented with the amplitudes AK. AK represents the amplitude for bit K. Okay, please remember AK represents the amplitude of the rectangular pulse for the kth bit. So these are, in other words, we can say the coefficients of the binary sequence. We can represent them as a discrete stationary random source. Can somebody tell me what is a stationary random source? When do we say it is stationary? And what is the other form if it is not stationary? Any idea? So much you have studied about random signals. One whole subject you dedicated to that. ESLA you have studied, right? How would you define a stationary random source? See, a random process is said to be stationary. Please make a note. Only if you know the actual meaning of all these things, you will appreciate how nicely we work with these elements, how nicely we can use these things to define all our random signals which we use in communication. Okay, so how efficiently we can process signals. A stationary process is one where, let's say, the PDF, the probability density function of any set of samples don't vary with time. That means, for example, when I have to state what is stationary, if x of t represents one variable, similarly, let me say x of, or let me say t1, t2 till x of tk, for example. Okay. So if they represent the value of a random variable at time t1, t2, tk, so on, then the value of this x of t1 plus, let me include some time gap, some time delay tau, so on, to x of tk plus tau should be the same. That means the values shouldn't change with respect to time. If I'm measuring a random variable or a random process at an instant of time t1, and if I try to measure the same random process at an instant of time after tau, okay, after a delay of tau, if I still get both values to be same, then we call it as a stationary random process. Okay, so normally in analysis, we consider stationary random processes because many of them can be modeled as a stationary process, and because of the simplicity of this modeling. Otherwise, if it is not stationary, the other option is it is an ergodic process, we say. The other version is ergodic process. Ergodic means its values will not remain the same after a given time delay. So the values will change after some time delay. That is an ergodic process. Okay, so please understand this. And then usually whenever we analyze, we'll do two types of averages. One average is called the time average. The other is ensemble average. I don't have place here. Okay, somewhere here. What is the meaning of time average? I'll show you. So what is a time average? Let's say I have a given random variable, say the voltage across a resistor or something, the noise voltage across a resistor, which is measured. I'm going to measure it for a long duration of time. I'll be measuring the voltage across a noisy resistor for a long duration of time. And if I take the average as this time t tends to infinity. So if I take the average of one measurement, this is just one measurement for a noisy resistor. If you take the average of this single measurement as time tends to infinity, we call this as the time average. The time average of a given symbol. Are you following what I'm telling? Please understand all these terms. Only when you understand, you will appreciate the meaning. If you have any doubts, please question. The other one is ensemble average. What is the meaning of ensemble average? Ensemble average means, say, I'll take the measurement of a noisy resistor, say at 10 a.m. today. At 10 a.m. today for 1 hour duration or something, I'm going to take the measurement. Okay, I'm going to measure. Again, tomorrow 10 a.m. I'm going to repeat the measurement. 1 hour. Again, day after tomorrow, you repeat the measurement. So I'm going to take a set of measurements. It's not a single measurement. I'm going to take a set of measurement to measure the same random variable for the same duration of time on different days or at different times. So today itself, morning 1 hour, afternoon 1 hour I can take, or I can give 1 hour gap and measure it 12 times a day, anything. So what is ensemble? Please understand the name ensemble means a set of values. It's not a single value, but it's a set of values, a set of same measurements which are taken. Okay. Multiple measure, the same object or the same value is measured, but it is measured many times so that I get a set of measurements. And ensemble average means, what is the meaning of ensemble average? Ensemble average means to take the average over the complete set at one particular instant of time, say tk or something. I have one particular instant of time. At that time, I will find out what is the value of the first measurement, what is the value in the second measurement, what is the value in the third, fourth. So say I have 1000 measurements. I'll take the average voltage in all the 1000 waveforms and I'll find the average. That is called ensemble average. Is that clear? Time average means it is the average of one single measurement taken as time tends to infinity. Whereas ensemble average means you have taken a set of measurements, or a complete set of measurements are available, multiple values, and you take the average of, since everything measures the same value, you just take the average of all these waveforms at one particular instant of time. We call that as ensemble average. So I hope you understood what are the basics of all these things. So here we represent the ensemble average autocorrelation function of a discrete stationary random source, which is modeled to represent a binary source. So a binary sequence should be generated in the form of a line code. That binary sequence is considered to be modeled as a discrete stationary random source, and we find the autocorrelation function by taking this ensemble average. How do we define that? Ra of n is defined as the autocorrelation function. It is the expected value of ak into ak minus n. Ak represents what? The amplitude for the binary bit k, or the kth value of the binary sequence. Ak minus n represents the amplitude of the k minus nth bit of the binary sequence. Okay. So we are just taking it as an ensemble of 2 and we are taking its average. This is how we are going to measure. And one thing here, Pi represents the probability of the ith symbol. Pi represents probability of occurrence of the ith symbol. E is the expectation operator or the mean. Here, this means it is the mean or expectation. And how do I find this? I'll take it as a product of the amplitude of the kth bit into amplitude of the k minus nth bit, and all these bits are generated at a probability Pi. So the probability that the kth bit occurs or k minus nth bit occurs is Pi. Okay. So this is how we define the autocorrelation function of the given random process. Now, if you have the autocorrelation function, how do you find the, if you have autocorrelation function, how are you going to find the power spectral density? We already stated the power spectral density and autocorrelation function are Fourier transform pairs. So given the autocorrelation function, Sx of f will be what? The Fourier transform. This part relates. It is Fourier transform of its autocorrelation function. summation n is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity Ra of n e to the power of minus j 2 pi ft. Here, since n is also there, nft I should consider. N is a variable here, where changing from minus infinity. It's a number which changes from minus infinity to plus infinity. So Ra of n represents the autocorrelation function of the nth bit into e power minus j 2 pi fnt will give me the Fourier transform of this. And what does this part represent? Please remember, I am trying to find the Fourier transform of which signal? The actual signal x of t is represented like this. It is not just ak, it is ak multiplied with a rectangular pulse v of t minus kt, right? So please remember, it is ak multiplied with the rectangular pulse. So though we have written only ak here, v of t is also there. And when I try to find the power spectral density, remember, the power spectral density will always involve the square of its Fourier transform. So whenever we find for the power spectral density of a signal, it will involve the square of the Fourier transform of the signal. So if the signal in time domain is v of t and its Fourier transform is v of f, then the power spectral density will always be, actually we say it is v of f convolved with v of minus f, not minus f, v conjugate of f. Usually we say when we find the power spectral density, how do I find the power in the signal? Whenever I find the power in the signal, it is square of the signal. Power in v of t will be v square of t RMS value. It should always be the RMS value, v square of t by whatever r or whatever, that is the power. Likewise, you have the Fourier transform of the signal, its power. Whenever you try to find the power in a Fourier transform, it will be v of f into v conjugate of f, and that we can write it as v of f whole square. Okay, if I consider only the magnitude of v of f and its conjugate will be the same. So the power in a signal v of f, remember ak is multiplied with v. So here we have, while finding this, we have just written the amplitudes a. But remember, they have here, if I have to write, I had to write v of t minus kt, or here also v into v of something. That should have been there. Okay, we haven't written this v. So I have v into v, and in the Fourier domain, if I'm going to consider just the magnitude function, it would simply be v of f the whole square. And whenever I take the average, I'll have to divide it with 1 by the time period. So since v of t exists, remember v of t exists for a time period t, I have to, whenever I take the average power, I'll have to divide it with 1 by t. Then I'll get the average power per unit. So this is how we define the equation. If you remember all these for one case, it is almost like mathematics. It is repetitive. At least a few set of equations will repeat for each case. Okay. So to find the power spectral density of a given PAM signal, I have to use this relation. That is, I have to take 1 by t times v of f the whole square, which gives me the power or average power in the signal. And you also have to find the autocorrelation function of the signal and take the inverse Fourier transform, the Fourier transform of the autocorrelation function. So you're taking the Fourier transform of the autocorrelation function. Okay. So please remember, let us number the equations. So this is equation 4, equation 5. VFF is the Fourier transform of V of t, and values of V of f and Ra of n depend upon the type of discrete PAM signal being considered. In the sense, it depends on which line code we are going to consider. It depends on the particular line code, whichever we are going to consider. So these are the standard steps. So if I want to summarize, I can say the steps to find the power spectral density of line codes is: first step, define the line code and find its amplitude AK at the binary bit K. So if the kth bit is being considered, what is the amplitude AK you should find after defining the line code. Remember, we have written the equations for various line codes. From that, we will get this. The second step is to find the autocorrelation function for a given line code Ra of n. And the third step is to find the power spectral density Sx of f. So we have shown how to define the autocorrelation function given AK, how to define the power spectral density. All those standard equations we have. Equations 4, 5 and all we should consider. So with these 3 steps in mind, let's start off to derive the power spectral density of the first type of line code, that is polar NRZ. Okay. So what is polar NRZ? Recall, polar means it has positive, that is binary 1 represented with a positive voltage plus A, and binary 0 is represented with a negative voltage minus A, right? So it has positive voltage for binary 1 and negative voltage for binary 0. You see, this is the equation. As you can see, x of t is represented with plus A for logic 1 in the duration 0 to TB, and it is represented with minus A in the duration 0 to TB for logic 0. So this is the standard definition of the random variable defining a polar NRZ line code. Okay, polar NRZ means it is like this. Plus A for 1 and minus A for 0. Simple. So, in other words, this means the amplitudes for different K bit values, AK we call them as, the amplitudes AK can be written as plus A for logic 1 in the range 0 to TB, minus A for logic 0 in the range 0 to TB. So whatever x of t we have and the amplitudes we are getting, I'm just calling them as AK. They represent the standard amplitudes. Now, if I assume all the binary bits are going to be generated in an equiprobable manner, in the sense the number of ones and number of zeros will be equal. Okay. So all ones and zeros are generated with equal probability, then I can consider the probability of occurrence of a 1. This is nothing but probability of getting a 1 is equal to the probability of getting a 0. So getting a 1 means the amplitude AK takes the value plus A. Getting a 0 means the amplitude AK takes the value minus A. 0 means minus A, 1 means plus A. So the probability of these two are equal. So if the total probability of the symbols is 1, we have two symbols, ones and zeros, which will be equiprobable, which means the probability of occurrence of both are half. Is that right? So we have determined the probability of each of these symbols occurrence. We have determined the amplitude AK. Now we can find the autocorrelation function. See, the first step, defining the line code and finding the amplitude, is done. So here I can say find AK and PI. you find the probability as well as you define the amplitude in the first step. That's what we have done. We have defined the equation, we have found AK, we have found PI. Next step is to find autocorrelation function. How do we find autocorrelation function? It is summation I is equal to 1 to n AK minus n PI. So let's try to implement that. If you see one implementation, you'll easily understand the others. Therefore, array of n, remember I have only two symbols here, ones and zeros. So I is equal to 1 to 2, only two probability values. AK into AK minus n into PI. This is the standard definition. Now let us try to find what is its value for n is equal to 0 and n is equal to 1, or for n not equal to 0. We can consider two cases. If n is equal to 0, I am trying to find array of 0, the autocorrelation function of 0. Okay. And how do I find the autocorrelation function of 0? I have to add up the expected value of AK into AK minus 0, which will remain as AK. Because n value is 0 here, so the mean of AK into AK and the probability of occurrence we should consider. So this will be expected value of AK square. Okay, here I'll have the value into PI into PI. Please remember, or when if I write summation, I should write PI. Since I'm writing expected value, I need not show. If I write it as summation of AK square into PI, I should write. Okay, because I'll be finding the summation like this. So the same equation can be written in this form, or if I use the term expected value, I need not show PI. Yeah, I can remove it. Now, substitute what is the value at k is equal to 1. K is equal to 1 means when the bit is 1. What is the amplitude of the symbol? It is plus A. Whenever the bit value k is 1, its amplitude is plus A. So I'll have this as plus A into plus A square. And I should multiply it with the probability of occurrence of symbol 1. So this is for symbol 1, logic 1. Please remember, when it is in logic 1, its amplitude is plus A. So I'll have plus A into plus A, so plus A the whole square into the probability of occurrence of symbol 1, which is half. We have already shown both the probabilities are same. Similarly, the second condition can be, what is the value of the amplitude when the what? What's the amplitude when the symbol becomes 0? Whenever this symbol becomes 0, the amplitude is minus A. So I'll have minus A into minus A, or minus A the whole square into the probability of occurrence of symbol 0. This is for symbol 0. This is for symbol 1. So what will I get when I take the mean value of both? I'll get A square by 2 plus A square by 2, which turns out to be A square. Okay, hope this is clear. For n is equal to 0, we got this condition. Now, let's find the condition when n is not equal to 0. Can you all drop in your USNs? All please drop in your USNs. Okay, whenever n is not equal to 0, I can have somewhere here. I am trying to find the waveform. Say here n is if n is 2 or n is 3, whatever. 1, 2, 3. Four. What are we trying to do? I'm going to find if I use any other n. Say I'll find for the bit 1 into bit 0, or I can say if, what is this? Let me take it as ak minus 1 or ak minus 2. Anything I can consider is when n is not equal to 0. What happens to the amplitudes ak and ak minus 1? See, I was showing you a case where when n is not 0, if there can be 4 different combinations. What are the 4 different combinations? If this is plus a, this can be minus a, one combination. If ak is plus a, ak minus n could be minus a. This can be plus a and plus a. This can be minus a and plus a. It can be minus a and minus a. I can have 4 different combinations for these two values because they are 2-bit values. AK represents 1 bit value and AK minus n represents another bit value. If they are not 0, then their values can take on 4 different combinations. The combinations can be in 4 different ways. I can have the bit values. So I can have 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. That means if it is 0, 0, both will be minus a, 0, 1, ak will be minus a and ak minus n will be plus a, so on. So if I multiply, I'll get this. And if we consider all the 4 cases can occur with equal probability, I'll write the pi value for each of these cases as 1 by 4. Okay. So with this, we'll stop and we'll continue in the next class.